What is going on? What's going on, everybody? Getting started here. Get my throat cleared out. Do me a favor, if you're watching this live, drop a 1 in the chat so I know that you can hear me okay. So if you're watching this, drop a 1 in the chat so I know that you can hear me. I would appreciate it. And I'm trying to look here and see. All right. Alrighty. See a thumbs up. If you're watching me, drop a 1 in the chat. Heathrow, if you would drop a 1 in the chat so I know you can hear me okay, and we'll get rocking and rolling here. I was trying to pull up a picture and get this ready to go live with this, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that yet. Bear with me 1 second. See if I can pull this up while I'm talking to make a little more sense. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm using a lapel mic today instead of my boom mic to see if that makes it a little bit easier for me. Let me see if I can share my screen. Nope. Okay. I was trying to see if I can get this set up, but it's not going to work. So the podcast that dropped today, this morning, was the 143, the emotional cycles of change, the emotional stages of change. And so there's 5 changes. There's 5 stages that everyone goes through whenever they're in business. And Heathrow, I am doing coaching full time at the moment. So that answers your question. So back to the emotional stages of change. We all go through 5 stages. I'm going to tell you what they are. Stage 1 is uninformed optimism. So we're like, hey, I'm going to start my own business. It's going to be great. Like, we're uninformed about what's really required, and we're super optimistic. This is going to be awesome. I get to set my own hours. I want to make a bunch of money. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to have my name on my shirt, and everybody's going to be proud of me, and blah, 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 whatever. We are optimistic, right? We start our business, and then instantly the realities start setting in about how hard this is. And so then there's a line on this chart. There's optimism. If you picture this chart in the middle of the screen, there's a line. There's a delineating line there that on top of that's optimism. On the bottom of it's pessimism, right? And so as you start your business and reality starts setting in, it's harder than you think. You don't really know what you're doing. You start going down and you clear the line of optimism into pessimism, and it turns into informed pessimism, right? Now you're informed about how hard it is to actually run a business, and now all of a sudden you are become pessimistic about what you're able to do in your business, how hard it's going to be. Am I actually going to be able to do it? All of the reality starts setting in. That's stage 2. Stage 3 is that you keep going down this line of pessimism, and you get to stage 3, which is the valley of despair. This is the lowest part we're going to be in our business. Now, the emotional cycle of change is not just for business owners. It's anything in your life. Anything you do new, when you make a change in your life, you will go through all 5 of these cycles. It just so happens that it piggybacks with a business. And so you get to the bottom, which is the valley of despair. This is the lowest of the low. You don't know how you're going to do it. You don't know how you're going to keep going, how you're going to make money. You've been doing it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You're not making any progress. Everything's the same. Everything's hard. You're working all the time. You're frustrated. That's the valley of despair. Now, this is the most critical point in this cycle of change, because in the valley of despair is when we're the most vulnerable. This is when we're the most vulnerable to shiny object syndrome. This is when we're most vulnerable to quitting, right? And you may have heard before, like, people quit right before they have a breakthrough, or they quit too soon. This is when they're quitting. They're quitting in the valley of despair, because you're down here at the bottom and you don't see it getting any better. You don't know how it can get better. This is like, it's at the best that in your mind, this is all in your mind, perceived. This is the best it's going to get. It's not going to get any better. And so something comes along, a new opportunity. A friend of yours who owns a construction business says, "Hey man, why don't you just come work for me? I'll pay you $150,000 salary. I'll give you a company truck. Everything's going to be great." And you're like, "Well, I'm only making 40,000 now, and I'm working, 80 hours a week. That sounds awesome." And there's nothing wrong with working for someone else. Just to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with working for somebody else. But in your business, this is the point of when you quit. You're like, that's a better offer. And for some people, that may be a better offer, and that's what you should do. This is also the point in our business whenever let's say we start a roofing company, right? And we're all we're doing is roofing, but we're struggling. We're not getting enough roofs. We're having to discount our price to get jobs and blah 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 blah. And then along comes somebody that says, another contractor that says, where I really make my most money? I make money in siding. When I started doing siding, that's when I started making good money. And you're like, that's it. That's what I need to do. I need to offer siding as well as roofing. And so you take on siding as a new opportunity. It's a shiny object. It's a new opportunity to make more money. And so you put all of your effort into now launching the siding service, and you really start neglecting the roofing business, which really starts to negate all of the effort that you've put in up until that point, right? And then you start over because it's like, oh, siding is so wonderful. You go automatically back to one, which is an uninformed optimism. You've never done siding, as a service. You're uninformed about all of the things that go wrong. I don't care what service you offer. Every service has its issues. Every service has problems they deal with, right? But because you're uninformed, your buddy says siding's where it's at. You're like, yeah, that's what I need to do. So you jump back into uninformed optimism, and you start on that path again, and then you start going down and down and down until you reach informed pessimism, where it's like, man, siding wasn't as good as I thought. I had to buy all this equipment. I had to hire more people, and those people aren't very good. So now I got to have somebody that can do siding and roofing. So that's even harder, and blah, blah. And it just starts domino affecting, right? And then you end up back in the valley of despair again. Now you're there with two services, and then you start the process over. Somebody else comes along and is like, hey, I make all my money in seamless gutters. That's a good idea. And you go back and you start all over again. The solution is to push through the valley of despair. And once you push through and you cross that, that equator of optimism and pessimism, you now reach informed optimism. Now you're informed and you're optimistic because you know what needs to be done. Maybe you still need to make changes in your business. Maybe you still need to do there's things you got to do to get better, but now you know the path forward, right? Now you know how to get to where you want to go. And then the last stage in the cycle of change is success and fulfillment. That's stage 5. And so once you become informed and then you continue up that path, then you reach success and fulfillment, right? Those are the 5 stages of change. And this is 100% true for any business venture, for anything you do in life. The kicker is in the valley of despair. This is when the shiny object is at its highest, right? When leads aren't coming in, you can't find good help, customers are complaining, blah, 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 blah. All these things are stacking up on you. You're like, I don't know how I'm ever going to solve this. I know I'll just do something different. I'll just start another business. I'll, start another service, right? And so this is it. Most people are stuck in cycles 1, 2, and 3, and they just keep going and back and forth. Uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, back up to uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, and you just stay in this cycle over and over and over and over again. Like I said, the solution is to push through the valley of despair. But this is where it can be difficult for a lot of people, because this is also when ego is in full, your ego, and you're in the valley of despair, your ego is in full fight mode. It's trying to stay alive. It's trying to, protect your image. It's trying to protect your emotions, all of that stuff. And so it's difficult to receive the right information when you're in the valley of despair, when you're desperate, right? This is also the same for people who are struggling with depression or struggling with, thoughts of suicide. You're in the valley of despair. People who commit suicide do it because they don't see any option. They don't see any other option. They're in the valley of despair at that moment, right? There's no way out. There's no way out. And so this is why you have to push through. But more importantly, is that when you try to do this by yourself, when you're all alone, you don't have the voice of reason. You don't have someone saying to you, hey, man, yeah, it's tough right now, but here's some things that you can do differently. Here's how you can actually, push through this. And so community is super important to help you through the valley of despair. And I know if they're on the call right now watching, they will all agree that when you plug yourself into a community, it actually helps you to see that, one, you're not alone, right? And two, you can see people that are in the 4th and 5th stages of business, and they're doing the exact same thing as you. And so now your brain starts saying, well, wait a minute. I thought I was alone. I thought I was on this island. I thought there was no way past it, but I see 5 other people that are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, and they're successful, and they're sharing their stories and their tips and tricks and everything else. There's no way that I'm going to give up right now. I just don't have the right information, right? Because you're not informed. This is why knowledge is so important, guys. This is why reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, watching YouTube videos. You guys are on here now watching me live because you're trying to, gain some knowledge, and that's great. But it goes even beyond that. It's not just watching, a 30-minute video. It goes way beyond that. And so when you can surround yourself with people, that is in and of itself a safeguard against recycling back and also helping you push through. Because if you're in the valley of despair and you go to your community and you say, hey guys, I'm doing X and I'm thinking about doing Y, they can all say, don't do that. That's going to divide your attention. You need to stay on the path, right? You need to stay on and continue to learn and learn and learn. I'm in this right now in my business. In one aspect, I'm in the valley of despair, and in the marketing aspect, in terms of copywriting and getting leads and stuff. And I'm in several other groups that are helping to educate me through this process so that I can become informed. And once I become informed, now I can become optimistic. I can see the path forward, right? And there's no way to shortcut this. I don't care what it is that you do. You cannot shortcut the 5 stages of the emotional change, of the 5 stages I can't even talk. You cannot shortcut the emotional cycle of change, the 5 stages of the emotional cycle of change. You can shorten the time, you can shorten the depth of the pain and stuff, but you have to go through that. There's no way around it, right? Even if you're like, let's say, one of the things I want to do is get a pilot's license. I'm super optimistic about it. I'm tech savvy. I'm mechanically aptitude. I learned really quick. I'm optimistic. But that doesn't mean that once I get in the aircraft and start learning how to fly it, that I'm not going to be like, wait a minute, this is way, way, way more work. You mean I have to learn all of these codes and things and all that, and then all of a sudden you start going down. right? You go down into the informed pessimism. So these cycles cannot be avoided. But if you're in the valley of despair right now, you need to reach out and look for opportunities to surround yourself with other people who have gone before you, who can turn back around and say, this is the path forward, guys. This is how you get out of the valley of despair. That's the benefit of being surrounded in a community. So if you guys have any questions about the emotional cycle of change, throw them in the chat. I want to also give on TikTok, I want to give you guys an opportunity. If you want to hop on live with me, we can talk about your business. We can talk about anything. We can talk about work, whatever. I just want to have an interactive opportunity for people to jump on if they have questions, if they have comments, concerns, whatever. I want to open it up now, let you guys have an opportunity to do that. Just let me know. I'm going to open this up here, turn this on. And if you're on Facebook, you guys will have to, if you want to talk to me, you'll have to get on TikTok to do that. It's just much easier to do it there. So let's see here. Okay. So if anybody wants to come on live, let me know. I'll leave that open. I'm going to take a drink here real quick. John, good to see you on Facebook. Any questions that you guys have, let me hear them. Throw them in the comments. We can open it up for discussion and go from there. So while we're waiting, I want to look at something here. Yeah, I kind of mentioned this briefly, but when you're going through the 5 stages, the amount of time it takes you is dependent upon how much information you have. So if you look at people who have started multiple businesses, their first business, it may have taken them 5 years to hit a million in revenue, right? And then maybe they exit or whatever later on. And their second business, it only takes them like 2 years to hit $1 million in revenue. And then maybe they exit that. And then their third business they start only takes about 6 months to hit $1 million. The reason is because they've learned all the information. They're still going through the 5 cycles, but they're shortening the time frame. They're shortening the time frame they spend in each cycle. The other thing is that if you don't know how to do stuff, this is where the benefit of having mentors and having coaches is because you can now learn from their mistakes. You can learn from them to shorten that time frame. A lot of this stuff you might be able to figure out on your own, and it may take you 7, 8, 10 years, to get to the success defined by you. But if you have someone in your corner, if you have a community and you have a coach or a mentor, that 7, 8 year time frame can be condensed down to 2 to 3 years. And I see this with every one of my clients. They've been stagnant at a certain level. They come in, they get the information they need, they get into informed optimism, and then they execute. That's important. They have to execute, and then boom, it's almost like overnight they're successful. Stefan says, I've witnessed shiny object syndrome so many times, I never knew there was a term for it. Yeah, I don't know if that's the correct term. Squirrel, it's the same thing as like squirrel, right? It's a distraction. It takes a lot of discipline especially when you're doing stuff, to turn down shiny object syndrome. It does. I'm not immune to it. Beginning of this year, I was talking to a former employee of mine, and we were like in the beginning stages of starting a junk removal business. Now, he was going to operate the business. I was just going to be an equity investor, equity owner, and help on the business side of things. But he was going to do all of that. So that was, and really, it was a shiny object, right? Oh, this would be fun. it's passive income, right? Which we know is not true. I mean, I went as much as I was doing research. I was looking at vehicles to purchase. I even went to, it just happened to work out. I was in Indianapolis for a son's doctor's appointment, and they had the international truck show going on. And one of the equipment, the service beds that we would use, they had a booth there. So my wife took my son to my doctor's appointment. I ran over to the convention. I was there for an hour and a half. I talked to them to get information. My wife got done. We got in and left. Like, it was like I was doing active research on this. And then he ended up not wanting to, or couldn't, because of other reasons, moving forward. And so it just got dropped off. And I'm glad that it didn't take off, because that's that uninformed optimism. Oh, it'd be easy. It'd just be 3 or 4 hours a week to manage my stuff. He'll do all the work, blah 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 blah. That's the uninformed optimism, right? So I'm not immune to shiny object syndrome. It's very, very doable. I'm literally right now, as we speak, in the middle of a shiny object opportunity. Slightly different situation. I'm not going to get into, but it does involve being a partner in another business. But not saying that it never makes sense and that you should never, ever, ever take advantage of opportunities. I'm just saying you got to make sure that you're doing it because you have the bandwidth. It makes sense financially. It's a great opportunity, and you're not doing it because you're in the valley of despair, right? Those are two different things. If you're in the success and fulfillment stage, or even in the informed optimism stage, and you're taking on other ventures, that's a slightly different scenario. We just want to make sure we're not doing that because we are in the valley of despair. Someone said, I deal with shiny object syndrome every single day, just by myself in the shop most days. Yeah. I'm in here by myself in my office. One of the things, I just moved, I don't know if you've seen me live before, I just moved offices, so the background looks different. I don't have my sign up and all that stuff. But one of the reasons why I wanted to move here was because my old office was inside of my shop that I was renting, and I was isolated all day, every day, by myself. So even just being in this building, it's a 3-story building. There's maybe 20, 30 different businesses here. Going to the bathroom, taking the elevator up and down, whatever, I see people on a regular basis. And as little as that may seem, like, being in isolation all the time is not good. Humans were not designed to be isolated. I mean, and I'm an introvert, like, for the most part. I don't necessarily want to go and like hang out in public places all the time, but I do like to actually have conversation and not be completely isolated. So when you are by yourself, working by yourself on a job site, it can be easy to get distracted by shiny object syndrome, especially if that shiny object syndrome is going to help connect you with other people. I don't know who you are, because your name's not showing up on Facebook. But some of the reasons why we have shiny object syndrome, if we're isolated, is because we have an emotional, our emotional tank is empty. Meaning, because we don't have interaction with other people, we start to get lonely. We start to feel isolated, and that's where that can come from. Oh, okay, Justin, good to see you, man. Yeah, if you're building your cabinets and stuff, definitely can be isolating, and shiny object can definitely play a factor in that. Who else? Anybody want to come on live on TikTok? Anybody watching want to jump on, have a conversation? We don't have to even, we can talk about business at all. Maybe you have some tips you can share with everybody. If you're wanting to come on, just request, and I can invite you, or comment, and I can invite you. I feel like TikTok is like not working because nobody's commenting. We got Jeremy and Justin Addy. I don't know who's who. Guys, just so you know, on Facebook, if you don't hit the link to allow the app to see who you are, I won't know who you are. So even if you put in Justin Addy or you put in Jeremy, I don't know who you are. It just says Facebook user. So in other words, if you comment again, I won't know who you are. Like Stefan and John have both clicked the link. I can see their names. That's just a FYI for you guys. All right. Anybody else? Who wants to go live? Nobody wants to talk today, huh? Everybody just wants to chill. I may just have to cut it early. No questions. Everybody's at the current informed optimism stage. Yes, Butters. I have glasses now. I just got them. I got my old man. I even got my little old man strings on there. It's called getting old, dude. Getting old. What's up, user 811-489-4124-619? Butters, jump on live with me. Let's talk. What's up, dude?
What's up, babe?
You driving?
I am.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Uh-oh. I lose you? You back?
I'm here.
Okay, I lost you for a second.
Oh, what's shaking, man? How you hoping I can help?
Just having a conversation. I don't know if you caught the first part. Did you just jump in?
I just popped in, yeah.
We were just got done talking about the 5 stages of the emotional cycle of change. Are you familiar with those?
Oh. You know what? No, man, I'm not. Not by name, anyway.
Well, it's real simple. When you start a business or a new thing or anything, it doesn't have to be business, to be anything in life. When you first start out, you're in uninformed optimism, right? Like everything's going to be great. And then you quickly realize like, no, and everything's not great. And you hit stage 2, which is informed pessimism. So now you're informed, but you're a little pessimistic. And then stage 3 is the valley of despair. And that's where most people jump ship. They either quit, go do something different, have shiny object syndrome, so on and so on. Stage 4, you come back up into informed optimism. You start to see now the information, you see the plan forward, and then the last stage is success and fulfillment. So that's the 5 stages. Knowing a little bit about your journey, I mean, you were in the valley of despair a couple of years ago, would you say?
Yeah. And last year, too.
I would say last year, though, you were on the upward swing towards informed optimism. I mean, you may still been below the pessimism line, but you were moving out of it.
We had a lull, and it felt desperate.
But if I remember correctly, that was only a short period of time.
Yeah, it was 3 months. We had no sales in a quarter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Would you say
you marry rich before you start your construction company? That way you never fail.
Yeah. Yeah. Spec Home says stage 3, you marry rich. Would you say right now you're in stage 4, informed optimism?
Right. I mean, what 5 was?
Success and fulfillment.
I give it goes in between. I put it at, we're playing with some new stuff, so I'll put it at 4 right now.
Yeah. And like I was, you didn't catch the beginning too. This is not like this can repeat. So like for you, with you starting your cabinets, right? Selling cabinets. As far as the cabinets go, you're starting back at stage one, which is uninformed optimism. So anytime you do something new, anytime you start something new, you're starting at the beginning. You can't avoid it. There's no way around it.
Okay.
The time you spend in those each cycle can greatly shorten, or the depth can shorten. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Do it more frequently and have it happen more times. You know how to get out of them and get through them quicker.
Correct.
Easier to find the levers to pull once you know what you're looking for.
Correct. But you still go through each stage. You can't avoid any of them. So I'm sure there's something that when you first had the thought of, you know what, we're going to bring in cabinets and sell them, you were at the uninformed optimism. I'm sure there was at some point you hit a snag of like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And so you had to get through that, into the informed pessimism stage.
I've spent my entire day dealing with all that, with all the paperwork and the notaries and the tax licensing and all that stuff. Like, that's been annoying for sure. And I've been putting that off.
Yeah. So like just in that one little example, that would be in stage 2, where it's informed pessimism. And if tomorrow you got to do something else and there's a bunch of extra crap you weren't planning, you may even get into the valley of despair shortly of like, man, is it worth it? Was this a good idea? Should I have done that? You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, yeah, man, share some knowledge, share some wisdom with the guys watching. Drop some knowledge. Whatever.
I don't even know where to start, dude.
Just pick something. What helped you get out of the valley of despair in your business a couple years ago?
Having help to find the levers and that needed to be pulled to move to the next stage of running a business and being open to change. Being open to making those changes too, instead of just living in that hole and being like, this is it. I think was, you got to be willing to actually do the thing and put the work in.
Yep.
You can't just be like, this is fine.
Yeah, you said something really important there, which is you got to be open-minded. Because you could want. I think a lot of people want the benefits of the success that they're looking for, but they're not willing to do the hard work and have the responsibility of everything that's required to get there.
It ain't easy, that's for damn sure, but you got to do it, or you just die.
Yeah, and so the saying goes, the only thing that how's it go? Change is I forget the saying now, but change is gonna happen regardless, right? Like whether you want it to or not, change is going to happen. Store more. Jared says, where is the skip ahead button?
Jared can jump on because I gotta go.
All right, man. Thanks.
Jared can jump on and blow himself.
All right. See you, bud.
Later, brother.
Jared, you got time to hop on? There he is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Are you driving too?
I am not.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Yeah, Justin, I can see your name now. Sorry, I was reading the comments. Jared, Spec Home says, just because you like to drink doesn't mean you should own a bar. 100%. Yeah, 100%. So what's up, Jared? What do you know?
I think the thing that I would talk about would be joining up with a group.
The community.
yeah, a community of like-minded people that are trying to do the same thing, that you can learn off of their learned lessons already and their burnt lessons already, ones where they've already made failures.
I like that, the burnt lessons.
Yeah, those are the hardest ones. They're the most valuable, but they're the hardest ones to go through.
Well, I mean, most things that are difficult in life or make us the strongest after we go through it, right?
Yeah, on the other side of it, yeah, being able to turn around and extend a hand to somebody that's already currently going through it is definitely valuable. But having someone there to lend a hand to you when you're going through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going through a trial right now with an accident that happened, and it's been challenging for you.
Yeah, definitely. I was attacked by a pit bull, and it messed up my arm. It almost put me out of business. I think you and I had a conversation about possibly I could lose my business over this. So having a mentor, having a group of people to run that by, hey, what'd you do in this situation, was totally more valuable than I can express.
And you didn't lose your business, right?
No, I did not. I actually grew my business. So I took some processes and some systems that helped me actually grow my business, get me off the tools because I wasn't able to be on the tools, and then actually grew my business and hired more people and was able to actually focus on working on the business and not in the business.
Yeah, I mean, not that anybody wants to go through that experience that you went through, but it is actually a good thought exercise of what would you do, how would your business survive if you were stuck in a hospital bed and you couldn't do anything. In other words, you couldn't work on the tools. You had to, manage, delegate, supervise from an office, and you couldn't go out there. Like, how would your business survive? And luckily, and you could share, you can tell this, but you had spent, the last 6 months or so, like systematizing your business, right? We've been working on creating systems and different things that would allow you to get off the tools. And that probably became even more valuable once you were injured. Would you say?
100% agree with that. I think for me, there was a little bit of over managing going on, that to the point where I probably wouldn't have left the tools alone had I not come into the situation. So, but the value of already having started the process of that before this situation happened is almost unmeasurable.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference between owning a business and owning your job. And where I was at before I joined a group, I owned my job. That, if I hadn't started putting those systems in place before the accident happened, I'd have just been done. I don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I said it's a good exercise. If you guys are watching this right now and you ask yourself, what would happen to your business if you were laid up in bed? You could talk on the phone, you could get on the computer and do work, but you weren't able to swing a hammer. What would happen to your business, right? And it's a great thought exercise to show weaknesses in your business right now. Like, what would you do? What would happen? Would you have to close up? Would it keep going without you? Would it stumble along for three weeks or 4 months until it finally closed down, or what? Like, that's a great thought exercise to have.
Well, to actually drive that thought home, just tie your left hand, not even your dominant hand, tie your non-dominant hand up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that would drive it home for you about how much You need to actually work on your business and less in your business, which is a scary thought for most of us because most of us like to have control of everything.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's a great point because most of us are craftsmen. We're very, very, very comfortable and feel very in control when we're on the tools, right? Like if we're building a house, doing concrete, putting a roof on, whatever, we've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years, like we're really, really good at that. And so anytime something happens in our business where, you know, we don't know how to get leads or we're not making sales or we don't understand the finances or blah, 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 what we usually default to is going back on the tools and working even more. Because it's like, well, I can double down on the tools because I feel like I'm in the most control when I'm on the tools. And so that's where we all default to. Like that's our default fight or flight response. Stuff's not going well in business, work harder on the tools. Would you agree with that?
You know what? Before joining a group, yes, I would have agreed to that. Now, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I would definitely say work on your business and not in your business.
Well, but you
know-
you transfer to the other side. I mean, you understand now why that's important.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Yes, Spec Holmes 24 said it happened to him. Luckily, he had systems in place because he was in a major car accident a few years ago. Was out for 4 months. The checks kept rolling in. That's awesome. That's the way you want it to be.
Yeah, nobody ever thinks it's going to happen until it happens.
Nope. I remember I was on my way to a sales call, and I got T-boned at an intersection, spun my truck around 180 degrees, total to the truck. I never thought that would ever happen to me. You know, I lost my truck. I had to go buy a new truck. I mean, it for about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I had a rental vehicle and stuff. Like it was hard for me to actually. Now, luckily, I had employees, but still, I was doing sales. I was getting materials at different things going on, where I was still actively involved in the business. But without having my truck and ladder rack and stuff like that, it became very difficult even to perform what little activities I did do in the business. And that was even an eye opener. Like, I mean, you can get in an accident today and not, even if you're not hurt, like even just taking out your vehicle that you use every day is a major pain in the butt.
Well, and I think kind of back to our original point about having somebody that you can call on that's already been through that situation is a huge thing.
Yeah, 100%. I still remember that conversation that we had.
Yeah, it's still fresh in my mind as well.
I mean, rightfully so. You were, you were a little, I don't want to say like scared, but you definitely were nervous about the future of what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, you could use the word scared because I had never navigated those waters. So, and for guys like me, change is a little bit scary. So you can use the word afraid.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that now. But I had never navigated those waters. And I think our conversation about that really drove it home for me. Yes, there was a possibility that I could have lost my business and those things could happen, but they weren't happening at that moment. So kind of an adapt and overcome kind of thought process comes through, but I needed somebody else that had experience in shifting gears like that to kind of say, hey, this is what you need to look at and get all the information so you can make an informed decision.
Yeah. And like I was talking about the cycles of change earlier. You were in the valley of despair. in that moment. Like you were definitely freaking out and didn't see the path forward. And that's where having someone, even from an outside perspective, say, yes, you're in a bit of a pickle, right? But it may not be as bad as what it seems, right? And here are some reasons why. And so that's where having a community, having a mentor, having a coach or someone like that will helps to have a sounding board. I mean, even just getting feedback on stuff for sure.
Yeah, I see questions coming in, Lewis. How do I get leads? This is the topic that the group that I'm in with Brad here, we discuss that on a regular basis.
What would you tell them? What's your number one way, Jared?
How do I get leads? The fastest way for me to get leads is to call previous customers. Cold calling.
What are you doing when you call them? What are you saying or what are you doing?
So what I try to do is go back 6 months and look at every customer I've had in the last 6 months, call them up, ask them if there's any warranty issues or anything like that, checking in with them, seeing what their needs, wants, and desires are, and seeing if I'm the right contractor to help them do that.
Yeah. So are you calling people that you've done work for or ones that you've talked to that didn't do work for?
Both.
Okay.
If I needed to fill a job tomorrow, I would call customers that I've already worked for in the last six months to a year.
Okay. And does that usually work out for you?
It does pretty well.
And then also, what's another way besides that? What's another way to get leads? Like if you need them right away?
Cold calling. Pick up the old famous phone book, so to say, and calling other businesses, like business to business stuff, works well for me. I've actually spent all day today calling builders in my area, new home builders, and offering services.
Yep. I don't. So I'm glad you said that. But prior to like telling you to do that, had you done it before in the past?
Not at all.
Okay. So whenever I said, "Hey, start dialing for dollars," as I call it, what was your first thought to that?
Try to find a marketing company.
But what did you end up doing though? Ultimately,
I ended up calling just builder after builder after builder.
and then
Starting off the conversation with, "Hey, is it of interest to you to have a conversation about XYZ services?"
and what kind of results did you get from that?
I think I picked up 4 builders in the first week and a half of doing that.
And
So
just
ended up about 8 jobs.
so and how many calls did you make roughly to make those connections?
I think it was like 15 a week.
For how long?
Ooh, I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been, but 2 weeks.
So 15 a week, roughly 30 calls. Is that fair?
Yeah, 30 calls, picked up 8 jobs.
You picked up 4 builders and 8 jobs immediately. And then those 4 builders, I'm assuming, have continued to give you more and more work past that 8.
That's correct. Developed relationships with those builders, who then also referred me to other builders as well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the power of networks, guys. Like the reason why you dial for dollars is to build networks. It's not, yes, sometimes you can get jobs right away, like Jared did, but that's not the real reason why you network is to get jobs right away. It's to build the connections with people. And then because of what Jared does, he does custom closets and pantries and stuff. Every time someone builds a home, they need those services. So for him, a general contractor, a home builder, that's repeat business. And so, if Jared, on average, like for every general, I know it's different, but just kind of an average number, like how many jobs would you say that you get a year for every general contractor?
Average it out, it's probably 6 jobs per builder.
So if it averages 6, every time you land a new builder, that's almost like a guaranteed 6 extra jobs, right? I mean, obviously there's no guarantee, but just for argument's sake, for those of you that are listening, like Lewis, who is saying, how do you get leads? Like there's long-term investment and there's short-term investment in terms of how you get leads, right? And it's not a do this exact strategy and you'll have all the leads you want. It's let's hit it kind of like a shotgun approach of we're going to hit every different avenue that we possibly can within the time frame that we have, within the skill set that we have. But building your network should always be an ongoing thing until infinity, until you stop doing it. A lot of that stuff is you make a deposit today and someone's in a network with someone, you get to make a withdrawal 2 years from now, right? But that deposit today may be a 30-minute phone call, and maybe you got to make a few more phone calls throughout the year to stay in front of them. And then in 2 years, all of a sudden, somebody hands you a $100,000 job, right? So, Lewis, I don't know if that answers your question, or Louise, however you say that. It's a combination of building your network and then also doing traditional Facebook advertising, Google advertising, social media, all that stuff as well. Vehicle wraps, all that stuff. It's a combination approach. Anything else you want to add on that, Jared?
Well, this conversation actually came up today. I had mentioned with somebody that they said, "What are you doing today?" And I was traveling around visiting different job sites and developments and things like that. And I had that conversation. I told them, this work that I'm doing today won't pay off for a minimum of 30 days. But knowing that it's an investment of what I was doing. And then later today, a builder that I've been just constantly reaching out about every month or so contacted me back, said, "Hey, you know what? The company that I have doing this for me now is not working out. They can't fit me in my schedule. Can you help?"
Perfect.
And I've been trying to land that customer for 8 months.
Yep. Consistency.
And it really only takes about a half hour a week.
Yeah. Now, are you like physically visiting them or just calling them? How are you doing that?
So it's a combination of both. I'll spend about a 1 day a month driving to different developments, and then at least 1 day, well, not 1 day, maybe an hour a week cold calling.
Okay. So like this builder that you've been trying to get for 8 months, that was a combination of visiting them in person and then calling them?
I literally brought 2 unsweet iced teas to the secretary 3 weeks ago.
That's the one you were talking about. I remember.
Yeah.
I
was, and it finally paid off. They do about 31 homes a year.
What did she say when you brought her sweet tea?
She just laughed and said, "Yeah, you didn't really have to do that." I said, "I'm really persistent."
I love it. What did you talk to the builder at all during that 8 months?
Nope. I talked to the secretary every time. And the builder didn't know that I was stopping by, but I never actually got to have a face-to-face conversation with him.
This is gold, not even planned, because you never had a conversation with the builder. So it's clear that the gatekeeper, his office manager, secretary, is the one that recommended you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine that the conversation went something like the general contractors complaining and, getting on the call like, "Hey, why can't you told me you were going to be here this week to get these closets done? I need to get it done." And he, click. And then he's like, "Susan, we need to try and find a new closet person. I'm sick and tired of these other guys, right? Something like that. That's what I'm guessing. And she probably said, well, actually, I know another one. He stopped in here a few times. Let's give him a call.
I'm almost verbatim thinking that's how the conversation went.
Yeah, but had you never stopped in there, had you never called or did anything, they wouldn't even. I mean, maybe they could have went on Google and just searched for, closet builders and found you. I mean, that's a possibility, but you wouldn't have already had that established rapport with, with the office person.
Well, and it was 8 months of we got a guy for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, and I hope everything's working out great with that. If I can ever be of service, let's have a conversation.
Yep.
And today it was, can you go to this address and get us an estimate?
Awesome. Yeah. That's how it's done, guys. That's how it's done. That's the masterclass and leads from Jared.
Oh boy. Well, the only benefit to it is that I've been through it, so I can turn around and kind of give some of that help out. I think everybody that's in our group wants to see everybody succeed, and that's a great thing. That's hard to come by, finding that kind of camaraderie in the trades.
I don't think people realize, it's one of those things that you don't realize how much you've missed it until you've experienced it.
100% agree.
And I don't think people realize the power of being in a community like that. And then secondly, it's one of the things that I'm most proud of actually is the community itself. And I tell people, like, the people come for the coaching and they stay for the community, because the community is actually really special. And even though it's not like we're having, singing Kumbaya around fireplaces, fires and all that stuff, it's just having a place where you can go in and comment, you can have conversations, you can role play with someone, and then when you get done, it's like, hey, how's business? And you just have those little, quick conversations. There's so much value in and of itself just for that aspect.
It's almost another sense of networking.
Well, it is. I mean, you're networking with other people. And the beauty is that almost everyone is, not in your city. So it's not like you're really competing with a competitor, local competitor. Although eventually as the community grows, that may happen. But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so much value in that and being connected. And, it's like, I have a free Facebook group, but it's like, it's not even a remote comparison. Like, there's information in there. People are commenting value, but it's nothing like the community. When you have professionals that have all paid a lot of money to be there, like, it's just a higher level of value.
And the accountability that comes with it.
Yeah, that's like built in. Like, even, you don't want to make a stupid mistake in front of your peers. Like, even that in of itself is a level of accountability.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can have situations that have already been discussed come back up, and you know how they say it's hard to see the trees through the forest sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So without that 30,000 foot view, sometimes you can't see the answer to the problems just on the other side of that tree. I think you and I had this conversation the other day where I called you up with a response that's real common from customers.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, Brad, I can't remember what what I should do in this situation. And well, it's very easy to recall that for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because it comes up so much, right? Like, obviously, you're not the only person that ever asked that question.
What? I thought I was so special.
I mean,
I can't do that in my town.
I forget stuff. Like, I forget things, and I have to, like, ask other people, like, how do you handle this? And they're like, oh, you do this. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, yeah, I just couldn't remember. Like, for example, Jared, the other day on the call, I couldn't remember your name. I could not just.
Making me feel real special.
I think I had a senior moment, dude. I think that's why I got glasses now. I'm getting old. I think I'm losing my mind, losing my memory. Just had a senior moment.
Yeah, that comes even with the best of us.
Well, man, I appreciate you jumping on here. I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Thanks so much, Jared. Appreciate you, man.
Not a problem. Have a great day, guys. Join the free group. Start with that.
Great advice. See you, man.
Bye.
All right, guys. Any last questions before I turn it off? Throw them in the chat real quick, and then I'm gonna hop off here. I actually got to go to work. I got to go to my second job right behind me. I got to start putting some decoration, some soundproofing panels on this wall behind me. So I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't think you can see it. This is just proof that I do actually know how to do stuff. You guys see that right there? Oops. You guys see that 6 foot level? That's just proof that I actually can use tools. All right, guys. Anything else? I don't see anything. Appreciate you hanging out with me. If you do want help in your business, always feel free to reach out to me. The Profit Club, which is what you see right here on the screen, that's my coaching group. It's where we all hang out and help each other get better. You can always shoot me a message, or if you're on TikTok, you can click on my profile. There's a little link in there. If you're on Facebook, you can just comment. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.